Watkins Glen International, 3.4 miles, 5.5 kilometers, 11 turns, 15 if you count the bus stop chicane. This venue has played host to countless sporting events since its founded in 1956, including the FIA Formula One World Championship from 1961 to 1980. Today, it is known for several high-tier events, including IndyCar back in 2016 and 2017, the NASCAR races it puts on year after year, along with the annual 6 hours of the Glen. Today, though, it will play host to round number 4 of the Racers Racing iRacing series. Hello, one and all, and welcome back to LSRTV here at the virtual Watkins Glen International Raceway. My name is Nolan Rempo, bringing you coverage of tonight's race with Mr. Charles Wooten beside me in the commentating booth. Charles, Watkins Glen has been one of the major racing venues in the United States of America for decades now. I think it goes without saying that we should be expecting ourselves a really, really good show here tonight.
Yeah, with you, I think we'll see some great racing here. An iconic understatement here for this track. We're doing some due diligence research on this place, and a lot of ups and downs here for Watkins Glen, kind of just like the track itself. We're gonna have lots of different elevation right there, as you can see them going uphill as they're getting ready for a little practice race to do some testing of their own. But again, a lot of ups and downs here in this historic track.
Lots of ups and downs indeed, and the elevation change is one of the things that makes this track such a thrill to drive. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks here in the US of A, apart from, of course, the Circuit of the Americas. And I'll tell you one, Charles, it's like I said, one of my favorite tracks for that elevation change. It goes up, it goes down, and it does so in such quick fashion that you just gotta wonder how in the world these guys manage to keep things together over the course of a race. The track temperatures are currently looking at about 83 degrees down there on the track right now. About May 15th is the in-sim date. Looking at about 5 o'clock p.m. here in the afternoon. The air temperature is, of course, 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now, they're just in these final 10 minutes of practice before they jump in to a 20-minute qualifying session and then yet another 20-minute race.
Yeah, and your track temp 83 degrees, and something different we don't typically see here in the sim. A lot of people run stock weather, and by stock weather I mean 2-mile-per-hour winds, partly cloudy. That's not the case. Like you said, 6-mile-per-hour winds, but cloudy. So there actually are more clouds here on the racing surface tonight. Surprisingly enough, it's kind of that way in real life here in the state of Texas, way far away from where this track is right now, but cloudy indeed. We have a chance of storms. We need to get this out there real fast, knowing that in the event the unfortunate happens and we lose power, we've already talked to the league about it, but we got a tornado threat, hail threat, and some gusty high winds in the 50 to 60 mile an hour winds range coming. So hopefully they stay at bay here for this 20-minute race, 20-minute qualifying, and the rest of practice, as I expect to see good racing, and I want to stay here till the finish.
Well, I'm pretty sure we'll know Mother Nature's opinions on sim racing here in about 40 minutes time, depending on whether they let us get through this race or not. I'll tell you what, there's not a storm just brewing over in the state of Texas, but also down on the track as well. We are in round 4 of 7 now, and the championship is still tight as ever. Garrett Maines currently heading the championship with 58 points. Theodore Burns hot on his heels, though, with 51 points. Third place is Mark Miller, only 1 point behind Burns at 50 points. Lawrence Loshak with 46 points. Chris Deschong, 45. So your top 5 drivers separated by only 13 points. Certainly a very small gap. And if something happens to Garrett Maines tonight, Charles, it could definitely blow this thing wide open. I should mention as well, right now, Garrett Maines in those practice standings, he's 2 seconds off of second place Theodore Burns' lap time right here. So you wonder if maybe Garrett Maines could potentially lose that championship lead tonight.
Yeah, it is a very distinct possibility that he could lose that points lead, lead anyway. He has it 1 point separating. That is not a lot of points, knowing you being the racer as well as I am. If you're coming into any type of race, you would really like to see, I would say 10, 15 point padding. You definitely don't want to see a small padding like that of 1 point. That is not enough gap, because lo and behold, you will probably have some type of mulligan in a race where you don't finish. You have a bad finish. So 1 point, not enough padding for me.
No, absolutely not. So Theodore Burns is going to be looking to not just steal away that championship lead, but also pull away. Interestingly enough, I think it's worth noting that both Burns and Miller are actually running separate classes tonight. Burns is currently heading the Trans Am 1 class, which is, of course, featuring the Chevrolet Corvette C6.R GT1. Mark Miller is heading the Trans Am 2 class, which features the Cadillac CTSV race car. So two different drivers that are just 1 point away, and they're at the head of their two respective classes. And it's looking like both those classes are being scored together in one large championship. So, well, like we said, a lot of potential for championship shakeups going into today's race.
Yeah, as we switch it over there on the overlays for you on the left side of your screen, you can see right now, no surprise, Nolan, as you can tell by any time when you come in here, as these are the TA1 and TA2. Trans Am is what they're trying to go with. Clearly, neither one of these are Trans Ams, but that is what they're trying to simulate. And I believe, as Lawrence Loshak put it when he contacted us, the Trans Am-ish series is what they were going for. But no surprise to see all six of the Corvettes up at the top. I don't think we're going to see that during the race, though, because as we've seen in past weeks, some of these Corvettes get tangled up in messes on the track, and they're having to fight their way through. So we will see some of these Cadillacs ahead of Corvettes, but it won't be for a lack of speed.
Absolutely not. And, this is something that we've been seeing ever since Sebring, actually. Remember, your race leader in the Sebring race, he lost control of his car in the final lap of the race and nearly lost the lead. The 8-second lead shrunk down to about a quarter of a second by the time they got around back to the start-finish line. So it just goes to show you what one little mistake could mean, especially at a track like Watkins Glen, because Glen, I'll tell you one thing, the Glen, for some of the sharper corners, there's a lot of runoff room, but for a lot of the other corners, not as much as you might think. Corners most notably like corners in the boot, such as the toe corner, or most notably the chute corner, even the outer loop corner, and most famously the S's. Actually, not a lot of room for error at all. One other potential hazard zone to look out for, besides turn 1 being the obvious, the inner loop, or as has been known as the bus stop chicane. That is a place where we've seen a lot of drivers having a few little hairy moments of their own. A lot of slowdown penalties coming through there in practice. Would not be surprised if we saw 1 or 2 coming up in the race as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think we'll be seeing some issues in some of these corners. And, you talk about issues, how corners can pose problems for drivers. One thing that can make the easiest corner be the toughest corner, Nolan, is somebody beside you on the inside or outside throwing you out of the groove you want to run, or the lane you want to run. That can pose a problem here tonight, even on the easiest of turns.
Absolutely, and I think the assist is going to be a key factor of this, because the assist, which also doubles as turns 2, 3 through 4, it's a very one-line section of the racetrack. Definitely one of the they're the fastest corners you're going to be seeing on the racetrack tonight. But you put two cars side by side, and all of a sudden the speed at which you're going through there is greatly reduced, because you're having to be well off the line to avoid going into the wall, which is right next to the track. You don't have any runoff area there at all. So this is going to be a key factor for side-by-side racing, potentially causing issues. Don't forget turn 1 as well. Turn 1 is a unique turn 1, because you can actually run very, very wide off of turn 1 with the extra asphalt runoff area that was introduced, I believe, actually just after 2011, I want to say, down over at turn number 1, which, it's made it certain that a lot of drivers can run really wide off the corner. Gotta make sure you don't run too wide, though, so you don't lose out on too much time either.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And it looks like we got about 30 seconds or so before qualifying starts and practice begins. And one to note, we want to point, this track did file for bankruptcy in the real world back in, I believe, 1980 it was. Unfortunately, that was, unfortunate for them. We're going to try not to do that. So what we are going to do is step away real fast for a quick commercial break from one of the sponsors here for the league, as obviously they don't want to go bankrupt either, Nolan.
Absolutely not. Going to take a really quick commercial break, and we'll be back with qualifying just after this.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome back here to Watkins, Glen International for round number 4 of the Racers Racing iRacing Series. Qualifying just getting underway. The first cars on track being, well, Lawrence Loshak, Ramon Lopez. You got Rick Kavitsky right behind with one of the Corvettes of James French darting his way through the order as well. So no drivers on hot laps just yet, currently on their out lap, but currently there are a lot of drivers that are looking to get those fast laps in early.
Yeah, they want to get them in. Of course, we'll see the Corvettes go to the front. We did witness that 26 of Donnie Leonard earlier. Already showing a little of aggression here as he was behind. You see him flashing them lights at that Cadillac in front of him. Signifying he's a little bit faster car coming behind him, but he's holding no prisoners here tonight. We've seen him bump somebody already when they were a little slower in front of him. So, a little aggression showing in practice. We'll see if that carries over to the race here.
Oh, absolutely. And qualifying can actually at some points be more intense than the race, because if you don't get a good qualifying run, you might not get a good race run. Even for the Corvettes is even more crucial because they don't want to be held up in traffic. Right now, the driver's going to have to be under threat from that the most is going to be James French in the number 19 car. Drivers are now on their first flying laps, and French is the first of those Corvettes that's out there. He's actually getting held up a little bit here by Ramon Lopez, though, down to turn number 1. So already, French's first lap has been compromised here, and it's going to be compromised again down through turn 2. He's going to have to bail out of this one and try again another time.
Yeah, this is the last thing he wants to see as we go in a little bit, zooming in onto that Corvette. Excuse me. As he's trying to get to the bottom side here, inside that lane, bottom side, got dirt raining on the brain right now, but he's going to take to the inside, and this is what he needs. He's going to be able to get by, but did you see that Cadillac almost get into the side of him like he didn't know he was down there?
Oh, and that was bad for Lopez, coming right onto the track and forcing Theodore Burns to bail out across the chicane. All that confusion also compromised Donnie Leonard's lap as well. Got held up behind him, so Ramon Lopez having an absolutely disastrous first qualifying attempt, along with 3 of the Corvettes that got caught up in the mix of things as well. So very unfortunate for him. Garrett Maines, the first car to set a qualifying lap with a 1:52.674. That's a whopping 10 seconds off of his practice lap. So obviously he did cross the start finish line while he was in the pit lane, of course, which is why that time was so slow.
Yeah, definitely a little bit slower than he wanted it to be. We'll see if he can capitalize on it here on lap number 2. And not sure if that's going to count as off track for him, but he does throw a little dirt up. It may be safe to say it's good, as right now Roger Eagleton, second fastest. Well, let's make that third fastest, as Jacob Williams is going to take the fast time.
Of course, these are from drivers still in the pits, and Donnie Leonard has just spun in the round of the vinyl corner as well. He's now back to the pits as well, so some drivers definitely still struggling here with cold tires in the opening of the last. The first up to speed time set by Garrett Maines with a 1:42.485 for the TA1 class. Lawrence Loshak taking provisional pole for the TA2 class with 1:48.123. Loshak was, again, the fastest Cadillac in practice times. However, it was Theodore Burns that was fastest for the Corvette. So I'll have to see what Burns will be able to make out of his run. He's on his second flying lap right now. He was actually in the car that had to bail out across the chicane when Ramon Lopez had his issues on the very first one as well.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing some of these Cadillacs a little bit faster than the Corvettes. I didn't really expect to see that this early, so we'll see if these Corvettes can pick up the pace just a little bit, especially down there with James French, as he is way back at the moment. He did spin out on his first lap. That's going to hinder him a little bit. We'll see if he can capitalize and make something happen a little bit more But deep, like you said, in this field right now is Theodore Burns. He has currently scored in what would be about 22nd, as he doesn't have a lap in, although he is about to complete his second lap.
I think he might have bailed out though, because he's letting off that throttle quite a bit mid straightaway, so he might be going to the pits this time around. Burns clearly not wanting to push the car. They do have another 15 minutes yet to get the job done, so you don't need to get that first lap in now. And oftentimes it's at the end of qualifying that we see the times really starting to blistering, because that's when the most rubber is set down. So we're gonna wait and see what Theodore Burns will do. If he's gonna drive, oh, and he's dipped into the grass and shot the back of that Corvette around. Well, if his lap wasn't compromised then, it is now. And he is going to go around for another lap, though, interestingly enough, even though his run-up has been compromised as well.
Yeah, definitely compromised. Don't want that to happen during the race. Get it out of the way now, as Garrett Maid's going to take it to the top of the charts with a minute 42.485. That is the first minute 42 time we've had out of both classes, the TA1 and TA2. Main's setting a pretty fast time, nearly a second, about 8/10 faster.
Not faster than his practice lap, though, interesting enough. It was a 42.025 for his fastest practice lap, which is not even the fastest practice lap you saw. That was only good enough for third place in practice as well. So some of the Corvettes needed to get that pace up if they're going to have any hope of trying to get that pull time, particularly Theodore Burns, who, as we discussed, he's trying to go and get himself a championship here. Well, he's not trying to get himself a championship, he's trying to get himself the championship lead going into today's race as well. So still, lots of times that do need to be set. Currently, we've got 17 times total on the board. It looks like we do have about another 8 or 7 drivers there that still need to settle laps, including over half of the Corvettes. Theodore Burns did put in a 149.408. That was likely due in part to his big slide to the final corner that compromised his run-up for his third lap here.
Yeah, and Jacob Williams will put in a time finally, so he's up to second place. It's going to be real interesting here, Nolan, if we see this race and we have the front row Corvettes, second row going to be the Cadillacs. We have not seen that in the 3 races we have covered. Of course, we missed that first week due to other obligations we had, but we have yet to see a race where we had the front row one, and that's going to break it up right there as you're talking about. Theodore Burns jumps up to second, so as now we have fourth with Donnie. So as I say it, they just proved me wrong.
Theodore Burns on the move with a 142.869. That's still about a second and a half slower than his fastest practice lap, so still being hampered. That time, though, likely due in part to the fact that he did get a big slide in the final corner, so wasn't able to get a good run. But he is definitely on the move, and he's looking to challenge Garrett Maines for pole position. That 27 machine is going to have to be looking a little bit nervous here. At this point, Burns is definitely on another flying lap. He's not looking to bring it into the pits just yet. He's got to hope, though, that the Cadillacs ahead of them are going to get out of the way and not hamper him too much.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to be hampered. And Nolan, we pointed this out to ourselves earlier. I didn't know it. You didn't catch it. If it's a very small look there, but if you look on the back wing right there, you see that blue stripe? That is actually their license, which he is an A-class driver. It is a very, very thin blue line. I didn't catch it, and we've been doing this for 3 weeks now.
Indeed, and it's the same for the Cadillacs as well. You know, they do show what license level these drivers are. The majority of them are in either A or D class. Got a few. I know we have one rookie driver in the field. We got I think we got 1 or 2 C and D class races as well, but the majority of them are in the higher tiers. So, well, there you have it right there. So, a lot of drivers seem to be, kicking things out, and definitely not new to this type of race, which is good to see. And, well, still waiting for some times to click away in here. Still waiting for a few drivers set times right now. 19 have set their times right now. It was a 42.009 for Theodore Burns. That's going to put him on provisional pole position for now. Maines, it's now his turn to get on the power. He's got a half a second to make up here.
Yeah, he has got some time to make up. And looking back here to Mark Miller, who was fairly quick last week. Right now, he has not set a time. He is on his third lap right now. Having issues here in qualifying, as he just hasn't been able to make it happen. So we'll see him. Also, John Donovan has not been able to. He's on his fourth lap. Going to be completing that lap here momentarily, as he's 3.6 into it. But like you said, Garrett Maines has his work cut out for him to try and get back to the top if he wants to hang on to the provisional pole here in qualifying.
Absolutely. So some work cut out for Garrett Maines, who's looking to maintain his meager 7-point lead here. Theodore Burns looking to continue to make that straight down, if not take it, by the end of this race. And like we talked about, Mark Miller, third place in points, definitely struggling a little bit here. He is trying to work hard on getting his way up into the field, and he's trying to get down that lap as well. We know Miller's a very fast driver in the Cadillac. We've seen this time and time again. We're just waiting to see what kind of lap he can put in when he's not struggling a little bit. Now, was this an out lap or was this a flying lap? That's going to be the big ticket question here. We'll find out as he crosses the line. It's going to be a 1:47.416 for Mark Miller. That is going to put him top of the timing boards for your TA2 class by, dare I say it, a whopping 7/10.
Yeah, and as take a quick look back here to Garrett Maines in this replay. Just note here, because he went off track, but this is with a Cadillac. That's the only reason we're going back to look at it, is because it was involving a Cadillac and a Corvette. Both of them went off track, and this was Garrett Maines, who's second fastest right there, spins it out, and no contact between the two. I was wondering if there was, but that was not the case. He just spun it out on his own going into the corner, and monkey see monkey do, the Cadillac decided to go with him.
I was down at turn 8, which is also known as the heel turn here at Watkins Glen International. And that's a very difficult corner to get right here, Charles, because that's it's got one of the sharpest downhill braking zones, apart from, of course, turn 1. But turn 1, you got a lot of room to work with, and you got a lot of runoff area as well. That heel turn, or turn 8, definitely not the same. It's got the steepest downhill transition, and so braking down there is very, very difficult. You saw the back end of that Corvette slid out, and that is what sent him around. So it's a very, very tricky turn. It adds to the challenge of the track for sure, and it's understandable to see why that car went around, because as somebody that has driven these exact cars at this track myself, I can tell you what, that's definitely one of the most difficult corners on the track for a Corvette.
That it is. And speaking of Corvettes right now with Greg Palmer, as I say that, looks like Eric April going to come out onto the track. Only two drivers that are currently on the track that have not put in a time. They have completed laps, but they have yet to put in a time, and I actually say that. Now we got Jordan Bergler going to come out onto the track as well in another Cadillac. So three drivers on track that have not completed times, as well as Jesse Prather and Scott Rawson have not put in times, but they have not come out onto the track either. So it'll be interesting to see if they are going to elect to stay at the back of this field.
I think Jordan is trying to push himself up there to get himself up onto the field, when he's pushing way too hard, because that car, he's gone off track again here. That's probably about the 8th incident he's had in this qualifying session alone. He's definitely has racked up quite a few incidents for himself over this race, and just about every time I've seen that car, it's been smoking somewhere on the racing surface. So what he's been doing is he's actually been pushing that car way too hard. He's really got to back off and try to find the limit there, so he can ride the car right on the edge of the limit and definitely not cross over. With these types of cars, it is a knife edge that you walk along, and unfortunately, he's been walking on the wrong end of the blade. Yeah,
he has definitely been on the wrong end. We'll see as we switch over to Eric Prill, another driver. He is on his third lap right now. We'll see if he can complete it. So far, it looks fairly good. We'll see. He is right now at 2.88 into the lap, meaning he is 9/10 into this lap, coming up to complete lap number 3. And we'll see if it is a clean lap or if he went off track at any time during it. And there it is. He is still not going to be scored with a lap. So at some point during that third lap, he went off track and invalidated the lap. So again, disappointing for him here, is he's only got about 5.5 minutes left to get around this track and make something happen.
Should mention that Theodore Burns has broken into the 41-second bracket. He's got a 1:41.269, which is about half a tenth faster than his fastest practice time. And it's 1.2 seconds faster than Garrett Maines' second place time. So Burns is looking to lock out that front row here, and he's looking to get himself secure in that pole position for today's race, and right now he's in the perfect place to do so. He's actually coming up on Eric Prill right now as we're saying this.
Yeah, he is coming right up on his back bumper, and Eric Prill going to have a connection issue, but no problems for Theodore Burns. He's going to get by quickly. Let's take another look at that weather, Nolan. As we talked a little bit a while ago, the track temp was, I believe, 89 degrees, somewhere in there. It's 80. And now it's 80 degrees, so it has dropped several degrees here since we have started qualifying, and you can tell just by looking at the track that it is even more clouds here. Some of the parts of this track anyway have gotten quite a bit darker.
Well, it is we're later on into the evening as well. You got to remember that it's currently about 5:30 p.m. in Sim time, so the track temperature is going to start to cool off as well. It's going to probably be thereabouts close to 6 o'clock p.m. by the time we get this race wrapped up. So it is expected that the track temperature would drop, which of course means it will get faster as well. So this is something we can see potentially with the lap time starting to come down throughout this this qualifying run here. We've got just about 4 minutes now left to go, and unfortunately for Eric Prill, Eric Prill is finally going to set a time, but it's only going to be good enough for 22nd place at 1:52.041. It's about 8/10 off of Michael Fine's lap, which only put him up in 21st place. So Prill, he's also got some work to do, as does James French, might I add. 1:57 for French. He has not had a very good go at the session at all. Only 8 laps, and well, I'm afraid only one of those 8 laps have counted.
Yeah, and right now, Eric Prill's got bigger issues, I think, to worry with. You know, a slow time is one thing, but a connection issue, as we're seeing with him, he is blinking in and out there. That connection issue, you know, not only is going to cause problems for him, it's going to cause problems for everybody else around him, especially in those first, you know, I would say 6 corners of this track where we're still bunched up together. That's really going to show some issues if that continues. So we'll see if that is the case. But right now, we're still seeing good times coming in, as we do have Greg Palmer out on the track. He is on his 6th lap. Again, still has yet to complete a clean one, and that one's not going to do it either.
Nope, certainly not. So Greg Palmer still having trouble. He's going to have to reset that car to the pits, and fast, because he's got less than 3 minutes to go. So he's really got to get a move on here. If he's going to get fresh tires on that, he's going to have to go to the pits. He's going to lose it again here in the final corner. That's going to impede, actually, Lawrence Loshak's lap. So compromising one of the captain lines lap right now. Palmer's got to get a move on quick, because you're looking at about 1:40 lap times here. He's got less than 3 minutes left in this session, so he's got time for one more flying lap here, maybe 2 if he gets onto the track right now, which he is. He needs to move, and quick. Like, it's time to scurry.
Yeah, and of course, with open qualifying, if he can get 1 lap in and start his 2nd lap, it will allow him to finish. It will allow these drivers to finish the lap they're on. So he needs to get out there, get that lap in, which he should be able to with 2 minutes left, and he would actually be able to sneak in, just barely, but sneaking in, he should be able to get that 2nd lap, and he needs 2 clean laps. The good news, Nolan, is if he can get that 1st lap in and then get to the 2nd one, a lot more cars will be done with their laps and be off the track, so he shouldn't have any impedance on the track from other slower cars.
Garrett Main's putting in 1:41.372, so he's only 1/10 of a second now, about 12 thousandth of a second total behind Theodore Burns. So Maines has the power down, and he is looking to challenge for that pole position. So clearly, Theodore Burns' pole position lap time not as safe as we first thought. Johnny Lennon also put a time in the 41-second bracket with a 6:35. So it would seem that Theodore Burns may not be as safe as he thought. Only 4/10 right now, separating your top 3.
Yeah, that's going to slowly but surely make that battle that much better in that race. Again, keep in mind, if you're just tuning in with us here for the first time, this is only a 20-minute race, qualifying the exact same time as a race. So basically, in the time we qualify here, that's how long the race is going to be as well. We'll definitely you know, talk about that a little bit here and more in a minute as to how it all works out. But 20 minutes here for qualifying, and there, right there, is going to do it for him. And his qualifying run is not going to count. So unfortunately for Greg Palmer, one of the Corvettes, he's going to be starting deep in this field in around 25th, 26th place.
Meanwhile, Garrett Maines is putting in the magic lap time. He's broken into the 42nd bracket of 1:49.52. That's 3/10 faster than Theodore Burns has, and the checkered flag is out. Burns is not on the track, so he can't go and challenge after that pole position. Right now, Garrett Maines, he's still out there on the track trying to put in another lap. He has to try to improve, and he's doing so as well. Right now, Donnie Lennon is also on the track. He's just rounding that final corner to get in his final lap of the race right now. So we'll have to see if Donnie Lennon can improve and steal that other first spot away from Theodore Burns. He's going to pass by Ramon Lopez. Will it be enough? It will not. A 1:41.585 is going to improve, yes, but it won't be enough to get himself a win here. But my goodness, that was certainly a very, very close one. Garrett Maines has also bailed out of his lap.
Yeah, he has indeed. And this is not surprising. We saw this last week and we've seen it the week before. These guys start running, their extra fast laps. It's like they kick in the nocks there in the final lap as the drivers are starting to go ahead and bring it to a stop. Just one driver less. That is Austin Fairfield, a new driver here for tonight's race. He is going to go ahead and continue in that 04 machine. And I will say it's a very nice looking machine as well, with an eagle on the side of that car.
Certainly is. And now going to be across the line. Will be enough to improve. It will not. A 49.452. So it was a close one, but he's going to have to settle for 16th place overall. That is all the drivers that were on the course. At this point, the checkered flag is out. So drivers are not allowed to go out and start their lap. All the drivers have crossed the finish line to end their laps as well.
They have indeed, and of course, just waiting for those last few seconds to tick away off the clock, and we'll be moving on to your 20-minute race here. Again, that is just a few moments away, as the checkered flag is already waved, just waiting for it to officially switch over.
Indeed it is. So just 20 seconds remaining now in qualifying. Nobody on the course. Nobody will be able to go on a set of laps. So your qualifying order is already set. And right now, Garrett Maines, that was exactly the lap that he needed to try to put himself out to maintain that 7-point gap down to Theodore Burns. Burns going to have to settle for second place. It's going to be a very, very intense one. Meanwhile, though, qualifying is officially over as of 3, 2, 1 right now. Let's move it on down to your starting grid. And Charles, why don't you start us off with your TA1 class?
Yeah, we have your grid on track, and your CA1 drivers are going to be as follows. Garrett Maines and Theodore Burns going to be on row 1. Donnie Leonard and James French going to be on row 2, and the lone one kind of pairing himself up there in row 3. Jacob Williams, he's going to be stuck with Mark Miller for his dancing partner on row 3. We'll go ahead and go through the rest of your top 10, starting with Lawrence Loshak in 7th, and Rick, I believe that's Kavitsky in the 8th position. Raymond Lopez in the 9th, and 10th is going to be Tennyson Hole. We'll switch it over to you, Nolan, for the rest of your field.
Indeed, we will. Michael Peters down in 11th place. John Donovan starting things off in 12th place. James Prostel Jr. 13th, with Philip Temples in 14th. Raul Eli in 15th. Austin Fairfield in 16th. Austin Evans down in 17th place. Zach Driver 18th. Derek Kulach in 19th place. Roger Eagleton rounding out the top 20. Jacob Clark in 21st. Michael Fine 22nd. Jordan Burnlower in 23rd, with Eric Prill in 24th place. 3 drivers not setting times here today. Greg Palmer starting in 25th place despite best efforts. Scott Rosen and Jesse Prather 26th and 27th. 2 more Cadillacs for this race. Should note that Palmer attempted to qualify over the course of 6 laps, and every one of them had been invalidated. So terrible qualifying there for Greg Palmer. And here's to hoping that he can work his way up and hopefully beat out all the Cadillacs ahead of him.
Yeah, he has got his work cut out for him as we'll go to the front of your field. And unlike the Roval last night, Nolan, with the Northwest Cup Series, these guys going to get a rolling start here. They had a standing still, but rolling it is. And this is going to get interesting. Again, you talked about it. This is where it's going to get interesting as the camera panning back to him now, way back in the back here.
So top five going to get themselves separated from the rest of this field. Of course, there usually is about that 2 to 3 second class separation in multi-class racing, such as this one, and we're seeing that here today. Jacob Williams looks like he wants to act as the intermediary between the two classes, it would seem. So, well, there you have it. And unfortunately for Greg Palmer, they don't grid by classes, they grid all together. So Palmer is going to have to start behind all of those Cadillacs. So one of those Corvettes definitely having his work cut out for him, though. I'm interested to see, though, if we'll be seeing Theodore Burns and Garrett Maines going at it for the win together, because these are the two drivers that are currently battling it out hardest for the points lead. And Mark Miller, third place by just 8 points. Well, he's starting back in the Cadillac class, but on pole position, so he might already be where he needs to be to get some serious points out of tonight. Yeah,
this is going to be interesting, and you can see there the gap between the classes, because they will be starting at a little bit different times. So we'll see. Well, I'm not sure why that says that. Let's get rid of that and put your time in there. For this race today is a timed race, not a lap race. So we're not on lap 3 minute. We're on 3 minutes, of course. I'm not sure. It's only our third time. I haven't paid attention there. We'll have to see if that time resets, as I'm assuming this does not count as part of the actual race time under pace, so that should reset here momentarily. But we'll see. The Corvette's going to get a little bit different start than the rest of the field. But like you said, back there as you have Palmer, he has got to be on his toes, because we saw last week a lot of the incidents on track coming further back, not because they're worse racers or anything. There's just more of them. Where you have more racing action, you're going to have more incidents.
Well, not to mention the Cadillacs, some do consider them, myself among them, I do consider the Cadillacs to be a tougher car to drive, if not slower than the Corvettes. Not to mention, like you said, if I had to say, there's probably about 3 times more Cadillacs than there are Corvettes. So they are going to be racing a lot closer together. So that's definitely doesn't help things as well. So Palmer, he's definitely going to be kind of the elephant in the room in that Cadillac class. So it's going to be a very intense start back for your Cadillac field. This field just filing down through the up the hill, actually, towards turn number 9. Just 2 more corners to go here before we go green flag racing at the Glen.
Yeah, and again, note here for anyone that saw the scheduled race earlier, originally this race was scheduled to be at the Circuits of America down in Houston, Texas, I believe is the location for that. And there's some bad weather going down by Houston right now, so that may have been the cause for the event location change, as they knew bad weather was coming in the state of Texas, so maybe they moved it to the Glen.
And now we got set to go racing here at the Glen tonight. Garrett Maines on the throttle of the green flag waves, and we are underway here in Texas. Your 5 Corvette field looking 5 cars strong down the inside, though. 1 car to locking it up. James French finds the inside, or the outside there is for turn number 1, and throttling past now down through your Cadillac field. They're all through turn 1, but it's going to be a clean start for the Caddies.
Yeah, clean start for the Cadillacs, as we'll see if it stays that way. And look at the angle here, single file for all these Cadillacs. You have to go deep in this field before you find some too wide racing action, but even then they have really decided to spread it out. So we'll see how it all plays out for him. Greg Palmer, though, the big one here that we need to watch in this group, is he is in the only Cadillac rear of the field, and going single file like this is not beneficial to him at all.
Certainly not, and well, he's going to have his work cut out for him as always. Right now the field darting their way through. The battle is on. Philip Temple's just passing, and Tennyson Hull up front. That was for a position in the class as well. I believe that was for about 9th overall. Already Temple's has made up 4 spots where he started on the grid today. Hull now trying to defend against John Donovan. Donovan, though, going to get pushed out wide. That's for 8th place in the class right here. So Donovan, definitely not the start he wanted to have at all. He's already lost. Well, he hasn't lost any spots, but he certainly hasn't gained any either. Temple's though up 4 where he started. This is a really good start.
Oh, we got one
behind, and that is going to be Roger Eagleton that got spun around, and more cars went off. That's actually Greg Palmer that was caught up as well. Now, did he push Jordan Burnlower around as well? I think he might. I think he just might have.
Yeah, we saw several people going around there. That is unfortunate for these guys. As of course, no caution, so we're gonna stay green. I'll check in with your front guys here in these Corvettes, but as to be expected, not a whole lot going here yet. But as you know, Nolan, there may not be anything here yet going on between these guys. That doesn't mean there won't be later. Somebody makes one little mistake, and right now these 3 Corvettes could very easily be right up each other's tailpipes. Pretty easy.
Oh, absolutely. So with nothing going on out there right now, let's turn our attention back to the Cadillacs, because that's where the attention is on. Lawrence Loshak in that second place in the Cadillac class. He's closing the gap to Mark Miller up in front, and no doubt trying to look for position. These are the 2 closest cars on track right now in the lead for this Cadillac battle. The draft was oh so strong for Loshak down the back straightaway up towards the bus stop chicane. Unfortunately, was not close enough to try to make the look for the pass. Of course, passing into the bus stop chicane, a very brave thing to do indeed, and some might call it stupid as well. It's definitely one of the tightest places to pass on the track, which is why you see it happen so little and without much success either.
Yeah, you know, I like to be that opposite person. You know, it's not the best place to pass by any means. However, if I'm somebody who is out on this track, I'm just that one crazy enough. Nobody may expect it, so you might be able to get it off. Then again, you could wreck both of you. So you really have to time it perfectly there. As we're keeping an eye on some battles. We got some battles going back here towards the back of the field. And we're keeping an eye on the front as well. That one's starting to heat up as well. You know, they were about 8 tenths apart. Now they're about 2 tenths apart for those front 3.
I really would like to turn our attention up to the front 3, because Daniel Leonard is closing in that gap to Garrett Maines here, and he is looking to reel him in. He is all over that rear wing now, Garrett Maines, and now it's a flat to the head of Daniel Leonard. He's going to look to the outside here through the S. He's probably going to have to cut back. Now, there's definitely going to be a move here into the bus stop chicane, and there it is. Daniel Leonard side by side for the race lead. That's going to be really, really close. Down the back straightaway, you got Theodore Burns behind this as well. Side by side at the bus stop. Will they stay without contact? It might just be Leonard making the pass for the lead on the outside of the exit of the bus stop chicane. That's going to bump Garrett Maines down to second. Beautiful pass there from the 26.
Yes, that was a beautiful pass indeed. Again, we talked about Donnie Leonard earlier, where he was a little aggressive. He was bumping these slow cars out of the way. Not the case here. That was a textbook clean pass as he gets by him, and that's going to set up Theodore Burns to possibly get by Maines as well. As that is right there, you can see. Let's go to the roll bar and look how close those 2 are together. He's going to set himself up maybe for a pass on the inside. Yes, he does, but can't complete it.
Maines ran a bit wide, and now Burns going to look back up the inside. That might get close, but Maines pinches him out and cuts him off. So unfortunately for Theodore Burns, cannot get close enough to make it work, but that's going to allow Garrett Maines to hang on to this one for just a little bit longer. So it looks like the battle for the top 3 has once again split up a little bit here in the Corvette class. So let's dart things back and check back in with your Cadillac class. Of course, there's just action going on everywhere. There were a few passes this lap as well, and most notably, Phil Temple's gating around Tennyson Hull with contact just on the engine of the bus stop chicane. So that one got mighty tight as well. One car into the tires, though. John Donovan going to lose out a spot here to James Prostell Jr. after glancing off the tire bearers on the exit of the boot, trying to cut back now. Down at turn 10, Donovan not going to get closer to make a look here. Could he get the run, though, off of turn 11? No, he's not. Guns a little bit more wider through that final corner. Wasn't able to make it work.
Yeah, and you can see right there, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 cars all bunched together. And then, of course, you see further back in this field, there is Greg Palmer, as well as James Crouch, who, remember, spun out on lap 1 going into turn number 1, hit the wall. But he is now back there. As we go up, we have issues for the front 3.
Yeah, it looked like Donnie Leonard's out of the race, actually. I wonder what happened here. Yeah, taking the lead, and this was actually in the boot section. It was in turn 6. He got in the grass and slammed the wall. Actually got embedded in the Armco barrier.
And we're watching here on the replay. You can see exactly what happened. That is unfortunate for Donnie Leonard, as he was having a good run and right there, just hard contact immediately done. As we go back into live, so that is definitely not how he wanted his day to end. As you know, if you're Garrett Mays, that is terrific news for him. You know, that's just one less competitor that he has to deal with on this track.
One less competitor indeed. Now things are heating up again in your Cadillac class. Michael Peters under fire from James Prostell Jr. behind. Prostell Jr. trying to look his way around him as Peters runs it a little bit wide out the corner. Prostell looking to capitalize, but can't get asked to duck back in line. Might have to try to find something with the draft, but he's also got John Donovan behind. So this is a battle that is continuing to pick on up. But this is actually the battle for about 6th place in your Cadillac field that you're looking at here. So, you know, 6th place, it would seem definitely the hot spot right now for that Cadillac field as things started to get more spread out throughout this field. The 8-car field has really much become more of a 3-car field this time. Big tank slapper there for Prostell Jr.
Yeah, these guys are really starting to mix things up big time. As again, this really is the battle, Nolan, between about 9th place all the way to about 15th. That's where most of these battles have been taking place.
Why don't you go to a quick replay here if you can here. We need to go right back to Raul. Actually, before we do, let's go back and look at Raul. He's going to finally completely pass on Derek Kulach. I want to take a replay of this one all the way back from turn 1 if you can do so, because it got all sorts of heated. And Eli's actually going to be given the bumper here from Kulach. These are two drivers that have made contact the past few corners, actually not having it all. Up front, though, 1 car around. Zach Driver being spun around just in front of this field. That's going to cause this battle to go all sorts of evasive. Another car to the Bears up front is John Donovan. Donovan's car, all of a sudden, it's all sorts of torn up. So a lot of drivers having some serious troubles. And Donovan actually hit the wall in the middle of the S, and he's off again. He might have to just tow that one back to the pits.
Yeah, I think he is, and let's see if we can get back there to find. We'll see if this is far enough back. Here as they're coming through the corners. This is what you were talking about just a second ago. These two are really getting aggressive on the track.
A little bit further, actually, it was down in turn number 1, where that's where it all started off. It was a huge dive bomb from Eli up the inside that really kick-started this whole mess. And there up front, you can see cars just going around, and it was just complete pandemonium here for a few laps or so. And you can see John Donovan still having his own struggles, so a lot of drivers definitely not terribly happy with each other, I think it's safe to say, on the circuit. Of course, this tends to happen when it comes to racing, but now Kulach, all of a sudden, he's going to have his work cut out for him. There you can see this is turn 1. This is the exact place where he got dive bombed. Eli came onto the track and actually glanced off him as he tried to get back on to avoid being forced off the racing surface. Kulach did not give him a lot of room at all. So, you know, Watkins Glen seems to be a very physical track tonight.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can't get our producer to find that here in just a minute. We'll go back and take another look at it. We can pull it up. We'll see. Again, a lot of red and yellow in the scoring tower here, indicating off tracks. And oh, that was just a shot in the shorts, and that is going to send him off track. I think that was one of those accidental one. I think he was letting him know. He was sending a message there.
That was Zach Driver. Zach Driver did absolutely nothing in Derek Kulach. I think Kulach just underestimated the braking points. You have to brake really, really hard if you're going to be on the inside from the bus stop chicane. Kulach clearly underestimated that one. Zach Driver did absolutely nothing to Kulach, so no reason why a 16 car should be angry with him at all. But that's just unfortunate there for Driver, who was already having some issues of his own, got punted around by John Donovan a lap before.
It definitely did, and right about now, you have two distinct battles that are the closest ones on a track. That is going to be, and well, it's not. Now it's going to be the front battle. This is the closest battle on the track at the moment between Garrett Maines and Theodore Burns. We'll see, but it's quickly fading away, and as it does, this battle's heating up between James Prostell Jr. and I believe that is Peters. It is Michael Peters.
Prostel Jr. trying to make the look. Can he make it into turn one? No, he's not. He's going to actually ease off here. A good job on the 125 to read his way through that incident. Already, we are over halfway through this race, by the way. 10 minutes down and just 8.5 minutes to go now in this race. So this one is absolutely just flying by, but Prostel Jr. still trying to find his way up to Michael Peters. Peters in turn trying to reel in Tennyson Hull up in front of him. Can Junior make the move potentially into the bus stop chicane? I don't expect he would. He's not nearly close enough. Let's make a reckless dive on it. He's gonna actually break early here. He is gonna close in a bit though in the middle of the bus stop chicane, so it seems like Prostel Jr. is more confident, though he did get a bit loose on the exit. That definitely compromised his line there.
Yeah, definitely did, and that's gonna kind of spread that battle out just a little bit. Taking a look to see what the closest battle is, and it's still the one up front here at the moment. Then I say that it's actually going to spread it out as we had the 66 slightly off course, but he gains it back. A couple of drivers going off course there. Jordan Burnmore going to go off as well, but he gets it going back. But the battle up front is possibly starting to heat up. It was 0.5, now it's down to 0.2 away.
Just a quarter of a second separating first and second place. That's definitely the place to look right now for a battle, because these are two guys fighting for the championship. They've collided. Oh no, that is detrimental for the championship here. Theodore Burns cleaning out Garrett Maines in the carousel. That was a bit of a move that I think Theodore Burns, the door wasn't quite open for him in there.
It was not, as that door was nowhere near open, but like the SWAT team going through someone's house, he kicked the door in anyway and made his presence known. And well, there you see the product of that, both of them going around. Good news, Garrett Maines gonna recover from it, but unfortunately, Theodore Burns, not so much.
Well, he's got some big suspension damage. He's actually he was forced to give it away from Jacob Williams in that number 32 machine. So Burns with some very significant damage. I don't know if he's going to have a meatball flag, which for those that don't know, that's the flag that means you have too much mechanical damage. You need to come down and fix. I wouldn't be surprised though, because he is barely in control of that car right now. That is absolutely detrimental there to Burns' championship hopes here. He might have to, he is going to bring him down to the pits to get that one fixed, and no surprise there, almost losing the entry to the pits as well. But Theodore Burns' race effectively over right now. This could make way for Mark Miller to make a run at the championship here himself. And right now, Mark Miller, he's currently duking it out with Lawrence Loshak in the battle for the Cadillac lead as well.
Yeah, he is definitely, those two are putting on a good show. They have been all night. They've been putting on a terrific show for everybody. We'll see if that continues. At the moment, yes, like you said, Theodore Burns is out of the race. Say that he's technically not out. He's back on the track. But I think he's out of the race for the win. However, out of all of that, Nolan, he's still in third place.
Well, only third place because there's so much time separating him and the class leaders. He's still got 20 seconds between himself and Mark Miller in the Cadillac class lead, because they're about 4 to 8 seconds a lap faster than those Cadillacs are, which is great for him. Unfortunately, he's 27 seconds down from Garrett Maines as well, so that's definitely not helping things either. So he's going to have to, well, he's got to hope that maybe something happens to Garrett Maines up front that will cause him to lose that lead. But right now, I think this will mean that, well, the closest battle on track is actually going to be down for 10th place in the Cadillac field between Derek Kulach and Austin Fairfield. That gap hovering at about, well, less than 1/10 of a second, actually. They're just now running their way through the S's. Fairfield taking a bit of an off-road excursion on the inside of the S's there as he tries to run down that number 16 car.
Yeah, and Austin Fairfield doing what I have said repeatedly in this series. Monkey see, monkey do. We see it in all racing forms. You know, you try to mimic the driver's line in front of you, and you'll see Austin Kulach go off track there just a little bit, cut through the grass, and usually Austin Fairfield right behind him following him. So you see one car do it, and you just instinctively do it with them because you're trying to follow them. And unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work out. for either one of you. But right now it's working out pretty good for them, as that gap has widened out quite a bit, as we're going to see one car off track and almost gets into the 32 of Jacob Williams.
And nearly, so it seems like some cars having some mild issues, and that was actually Jordan Burlower, who just let your race leader through as well. So seems like Jacob's still having some slight problems of his own. Williams has picked up second place as a result of all of this. Of course, Williams not nearly as close in that. Well, actually, no. Jake Williams is 22 points in the championship right now. He is in 10th place, so this will be good for him to try to improve on his standings here over Roger Eagleton, who's currently 9th place with 27 points, but he's definitely not even close to contending for that title fight just yet. So, unfortunate there for him. Well, now as a result of all of this, all the battles really have split out across the circuit. There really isn't a whole lot terribly close. I think the closest one would actually be between Mark Miller and Lawrence Loshak, which is right now about at 8/10 thereabouts. Other battles on the course, of course, are fluctuating severely.
Yeah, they definitely are. As we talk about that, we got another one brewing right now. That is, I believe that's still Peters. And yes, it is Michael Peters and Austin Evans. While we watch this battle here between these two, the 20 and the 40, sorry, the 20 and the 95, I want to point out that if you look on the scoring there, to that gap between Williams and Burns. Remember when you talked about he was in the pits there, or coming out of the pits, and the gap between second and third was about 24, almost 25 seconds. He's already cut that down to 23.65 in 4. He's actually dropping. Burns is catching Williams. Unfortunately, he only has 2 minutes to do it, and I don't think it's going to be enough time.
Well, the reason why it's catching him is because Burns did come in and actually use a quick repair on that car to get his damage fixed. And Garrett Maines has actually got some pretty big rear wing damage, so that's why he is not able to really make anything right now. Battle on for second, though, in the class. Philip Temples in a drag race with Rick Kavitsky down the front straightaway. Kavitsky in a terrible drive over that final corner. Could he try to fight back here in turn one? Gonna try to go for the cutback here on Philip Temples. Temples gonna run on the exit curves a little bit. Kavitsky definitely going to have the draft down through the S's, up the hill through turn 2 and 3. Will that number 9 machine be close enough to try to draft back down towards the bus stop chicane? Right now, Temple's still pulling away with the much better run off of the corner. Kavitsky will be closing. Gonna make the look to the inside, but he is gonna have to back out. Not nearly close enough to go for that spot just yet.
Yeah, Kavitsky not trying too hard. He doesn't want to overdrive it. That is another problem you can have on these tracks, is overdriving. Just with any other type of racing, especially here, you don't have a lot of leeway and grace where you might have some run off other places. That battle settles out, but we go back a little bit further to another drag race. That is going to be between James Prostel Jr. and Tennyson Hole, as those two bumper to bumper. Now they're going to go door to door here. Not going to work. They'll go back to bumper to bumper.
Prostel Jr. still trying to find his way around. Bit of a tank slapper there on the exit of the corner, but he's managed to gather it up. Still trying to reel in Tennyson Hall. Hall trying to fend him off at this point. This is definitely the closest fight you got on course right now. Certainly, it's looking at about actually for 5th place. This is the battle for the top 5 in your Cadillac class, and looking for 8th place overall. So these guys are duking it out for a top 10 spots overall. So regardless, they're going to come with some good points behind them. You see Michael Peters and Austin Evans. That battle is also closed in as well. We can see that one starting to pick up once we get around to the front straightaway. Evans is now reeled in Michael Peters, and now that is the closest fight on track all of a sudden. Peters definitely going to be trying to work it out, but we're already on the last lap of the race. They're going to have one more lap to duke this one out. Garrett Maines, the 27 machine, going to come his way through the final 2 corners now, and he is going to actually come away with the victory if he can keep things settled through one more corner. In fact, he does. Zach Driver going to pull off to the right side. Garrett Maines taking victory here at Watkins Glen. Still got some battles, though, that need to be sorted out this field. Peters all over the back end of Austin Evans.
Yeah, and we look here as that battle's underway, and I thought we were going to have one for the lead. Mark Miller and Low Shack, as Low Shack was catching him quickly, but that one has since faded away. So we'll keep an eye back here between Russell and what is that? Tennyson Hole. It is, as I'm pretty sure he does. It's going to be Miller that gets the win for that class, but they're quite a bit slower, so it's going to be a little bit before they start to cross the line.
Austin Evans was punted out of the way by Michael Peters in their battle for the top 10 overall. So that happened down in the carousel corner. They're still tight together, and there's expected retaliation there. Prostel Jr. all over the back end, hounding Tennyson Hall. Battle still to be sorted out. Prostel Jr. gonna maybe try to dive. No, he doesn't. He actually backs out of that one. So Prostel Jr. electing not to make the dive. So that battle's gonna be ended, but now look back to Michael Peters and Austin Evans, because these two drivers, they made contact in the swap for positions, and Evans, he's not quite done yet. He's trying to cut back on Michael Peters, as they are now just two corners left to go in the race.
Yeah, and you can see how he wiggles. He's trying to get that thing to the back bumper of that Raising Cane's number 95. And if he can catch him right here, we maybe see some payback for that one, as they're going to come barreling out of the corner. He may not be able to enact his payback, per se, during the race, as they're going to both cross the line, but you may see it here coming into this first corner. No, he's going to check up, so Austin Evans going to go slow, but basically everyone has finished. It's in the race. Garrett Main's going to get the overall win and the TA1 win. Oh, he's going to do some celebrating. Meanwhile, Mark Miller going to do his own celebrating as he gets overall fourth in the win for the Cadillacs.
It's two different burnouts once again taking place on the circuit. Gary Maines for the TA1 class, Mark Miller for the TA2 class. So potential championship shakeups here as well. Mark Miller, no doubt looking to potentially take second place in the points, away from Theodore Burns, who had to finish in third place with 24.8 seconds separating both him and Garrett Maines after a crash wiped them two out, along with your battle for the leaders. My goodness, that was really something to end off this race.
It definitely was. And of course, we have one more piece of business to take care of. Technically, two pieces of business to take care of. One of those, of course, being your results. We'll break them up into classes for you. I got a little hiccup going on there. I apologize. We'll show your class number 1 results as we can pull them up onto the screen. That is going to be your Corvettes. Going to be Garrett Maines, Jacob Williams, Theodore Burns, Greg Palmer, James French, and Donnie Leonard are going to be how those guys finish here in that particular class. As we switch over to class number 2, it's going to be Mark Miller, Lawrence Loshak, Philip Temples, Rick Kavsky, Tennyson Hole, James Prostel Jr., Michael Peters, Austin Evans, Raul Eli, Austin Fairfield, Derek Gulach, Zach Driver, Raymond Lopez, Jordan Burnlore, Michael Fine, who I don't believe, we didn't talk about him too much here tonight, John Donovan, Roger Eagleton, Jacob Clark, Eric Prill, and Scott Rosson, and I believe that is going to do it for that field. No, we have one more, Jesse Prather, 12 laps down. So a lot of mixed up in the overall, but that's how he finished by class. We're going to step away, Nolan, here for a quick moment. We're going to be talking to a couple of these drivers in the post show. Any thoughts before we move over there?
Well, certainly can't wait to talk to the drivers after what's been a very eventful and frankly a very exciting 20-minute race here at the Glen.
That it has been. Again, we will step away and be right back here in just a few moments with your Clan Wars server post-race show.
Welcome back to Watkins, Glen, and the National here on LSRTV for round number 4 in the Racers Racing iRacing series. And well, it's been a thrilling past 20 minutes of racing action that saw, well, some thrills, saw some spills, and well, about everything you can find in between. But now it is time to have a chat with a few of the drivers after all is said and done. And well, let's kick things off with our race winner today, Garrett Maines, coming away with the race win. And no doubt, Garrett, you can be very happy that you'll be extending your race lead going to your championship lead going into race number 5.
Yeah, I really thought it was over there on lap 8. I had no idea he was peeking the nose there. By the time I'd already turned in, and he just caught the nose right at the apex, and not much I could do at that point. But it looks like he hit my car in the perfect spot for it to break his steering and me to get away easy.
Well, absolutely. That's it's a bit unfortunate that's how that battle had to end for you, because I was definitely looking forward to watching you two guys duking it out. Actually, I believe there was another driver, Donnie Glen, that had his own struggles as well. So you ended up getting a very easy win today. Of course, we did see some other drivers getting held up as a result of, well, some less than optimal qualifying sessions. You didn't actually take the pole until the checkered flag flew, as a matter of fact. So can you stress about, is it safe to say that the qualifying session, especially that final lap, it definitely helped you with the win today?
Well, it was definitely extremely hard to get a lap in qualifying because of the way the Cadillacs were spaced out. Like, I would catch them every single lap. I only got 2 clean laps that entire run, and that's why it was like right at the very end, because I actually had to stop and go out again because I couldn't find clean track. Every time I was on a hot lap, I'd catch people at the wrong time. But it was honestly, like, if you were in the top 3 tonight, I think maybe even top 4, you had a good shot because the draft was so heavy. Like, I could be 0.8 seconds out at the start finish line, and by the time you get to the bus stop, the lead was half a second reeled in, just because you're almost wide open or completely wide open coming up the S's. And so that long stretch of time where you're wide open, you are sucking up to the guy in front of you, is making it really hard, because it's like, if you don't defend into the bus stop, they're going to take it. But it was just, everybody was getting stacked up right there, and that was what was making it really interesting when we were racing. Like, I just couldn't get away.
Well, despite this, it's definitely good to see that you did manage to get yourself away from the field enough to get that lap in. And well, congratulations on taking the overall race win today. You are going to be extending your championship lead here, no doubt. For race number 5, do you think that you're looking to pull away even further? Do you think maybe, because I'll tell you what, Theodore Burns, he was looking to threaten you for that championship there once or twice. So you think maybe he might have something for you in race 5?
He is on his game, that's for sure. It's been quite the battle the last couple of weeks. Definitely got to put the time in to keep up with them, but it's been a blast. I don't actually know where we go next week, so that'll weigh in on my opinion of it. But we'll see. Honestly, I think he's got the pace to win it if it all comes down to it. But I think it's gonna be a race. I think we're pretty evenly matched right now on times, and it's just gonna come down to who puts the time in and how things roll out.
And then before we let you go, any sponsors, friends, family you'd like to shout out today? Who helped you get it done for that number 27?
Well, I got to give a shout out to AJ Hendrickson for giving me the invite to this league. It's been a blast. Got to thank SimSeats, Strickland Hardy, 101 CBD, the guys over at Bobby Dale Earnhardt's Legacy Esports, Richmond Raceway Esports, and all of them for making it happen. Just hopefully we can make it happen next week and extend that championship.
Thank you, Garrett, for taking the time to join us tonight. And let's move things along now to Charles, who is currently on the second step of the podium with your second place finisher for today, Jacob Williams.
I am indeed with the 32 Jacob Williams. There for a while, Jacob, yeah, you were hanging in there, and then you had some good luck come your way. You were, we talk about racing being 50% skill, 50% luck. You had the skill to put yourself in the right position, and the luck came your way as unfortunately Theodore Burns, again, little tangle there, a little racing incident got you into the second position. You held on to it. Congrats on the second place. The question is, what do you think you needed? Obviously, a little bit more time would have been good to catch Garrett Maines and try to battle him for the win.
Yeah, just a little bit more time. The car was there, the setup was there. My setup comes in around towards the end of the race, and I started getting my flying laps, and then got held up by a couple lap cars. But that's just the name of the game.
It definitely is. You know, we like to ask those tough theoretical questions as well. Had this race been maybe, you know, a caution that could have played out, do you think that might have helped you too, getting that chance to reel him back in and then try to get him off the start?
Yeah, I agree with that. If we had a caution, then definitely definitely would have been there at least. I don't know if I could have kept up with the rest of them, but I definitely would have been there at the end.
Well, definitely, you put together a fantastic run to grab the second place, 3 spots up from where you started. So overall, you finished good, you gained spots, can't complain about it too much. Last question before we let you thank all the sponsors on the car and people that help you tinker on it to make it fast, and that is, of course, what are your thoughts on Watkins Glen? Earlier in the week, it was the Circuits of America, and then it got switched to the Glen. So happy with the track change?
Absolutely, I love Watkins Glen, and the setup and stuff is something that I worked on, and I'm a main oval guy, so this league here is the first thing I've ever done for road course, so this is all new to me. I like the experience, I like the challenge, you know, trying to get around these caddies, and I got to thank my family members back in Piqua, Ohio, my dad and Mickey and the kids, and my Uncle Eddie out in Texas and his family. And I really got to thank you guys for putting this on. This is a great event, and I'm glad to be racing with you guys, so thank you.
Well, definitely congrats on the second place finish, as we will toss it back down to Nolan, as I believe he's got it with the next driver.
I have indeed, and this time we're going to carry things over to our third place finisher in the TA1 class, Mr. Theodore Burns. Now, the Theodore, first of all, congratulations on managing to come away with third place today in the Corvette field. Still, though, a bit of a tough break in that fight for the lead with Garrett Maines after that incident. We got Garrett's view of that when we spoke to him. I am kind of curious, though, what did it look like from your side?
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun racing up there with Garrett, and I knew that he was a little bit faster in the second half of the lap, and that lap I had gotten a really good run out, and I knew I could catch him through the bus stop and coming down into the start of the boot, so I knew I had to make a move then to try and get up in front of him, and so I let off the brake a little bit, rode through the bus stop as fast as I could, and tried to keep the car right on the bottom, and I thought I'd gotten up alongside of him, but just wasn't quite enough, and I ended up just clipping my nose on him, so it was my fault in the end that we ended up spinning out. So sorry to take him out, but it looks like I got the penalty for that with having to come down pit road there.
Well, good thing that you didn't lose out any more positions, of course, to, well, I guess you could say your main rival for that runner-up spot, Mark Miller, who was only 1 point behind you entering today's race. Of course, you are still going to be able to, well, extend your gap over second place. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a bigger gap now to first as a result of all of that. So 3 races left to go here in season number 2. Do you think you'll still be able to make a run at that championship?
I'm feeling pretty confident. My pace is coming up, but Garrett, he's always on top of his game, so he's a really tough competitor. But I'm really looking forward to Road America coming up. It's my home track, so hopefully he can go out there and have a good race.
Road America, definitely a very unique challenge in its own right, much like the Glen. And well, like we said, we were you actually just heard Charles asking our second place finisher Jacob Williams what he thought of the track change. What about you? Because I think it's safe to say that the two tracks, they definitely drive very differently from each other, and they both have their own unique challenges.
Yeah, it was a very different setup this week we had to use for Watkins Glen, and yeah, very different drive than VIR. But I really like racing at the Glen. It's a lot of fun to be able to push the car right to the limit every single lap, and so it's really trying to just keep it on the ragged edge the entire run, and it's really satisfying when you're able to pull off a good run.
It's certainly exciting for us here up in the booth to watch as these runs get pulled off and the battles shape up throughout the field. And well, before we let you go, then here, anybody else you'd like to thank for tonight? Any sponsors or friends, family that you'd also like to shout out for the number 81?
Yeah, I'd really like to thank Jacob for putting together such a great setup this week, and Donnie as well for all the practice and stuff we do together and sharing data and setups. Also like to thank Lawrence Niti Reman for putting on such a great show here on LSRTV.
And thank you, Theodore Burns, for taking time to join us today.
Thank you.
And well, gonna kick things back over into Charles as we keep things moving, who's now caught up with your 4th place finisher, but your Cadillac class winner, Mark Miller.
I have indeed caught up with Mark Miller, driver of the number 7 machine. Mark, you come away overall 4th position, 2 spots from where you started, and of course the win here for the Cadillacs. Obviously, you're in victory lane. You got the trophy girls around you. The question is, do you have that chicken dinner for the winner yet?
No, I'm still avoiding the poultry right now. But no, it was a really good race. I mean, if you would have asked me a few weeks ago if I would have had 3 in a row with the tough competition, particularly from Lawrence Loshak, I wouldn't believe it. But we got a nice win at Sebring, and then followed it up. It was like a win-win to take the win at VIR, and this is like a win-win winning for this final race here at the Glen. So I'd like to keep it rolling, try to go for that win-win-win winning situation at the next race.
If you continue the winning streak, I believe we're gonna have to change your name to Charlie Sheen, because apparently he is a winning as well. So regardless of all jokes aside, we come here to Watkins Glen. How much practicing did you get in for Watkins Glen prior to coming into it? Did you like this track as road course? We know it produces good racing. So overall, what are your thoughts on the track? And did you expect to be sitting in the victory lane for the class here tonight?
This track I worked the hardest on the setup, and I was still the least happy with it. It's just that type of track. Watkins Glen is one of my favorite tracks in the world in real racing, and it's such a high grip, high load, down, high compression type track that it's the same setup just does not work here. So I made the car freer than I've ever made it. Tried to get the car to rotate on entry, so when it does slam down in the middle of the corner, it actually doesn't just push the front of the car out, and it's really hard to make the car point and still get good traction off the slow corners. So it seems like I was really good in the boot from the bus stop to the exit of the boot, and Lawrence was really strong in the first sector and the last part of the last sector, and he could close in a little bit here and then would lose the nose a little bit in the boot, and I'd get a gap, and if I didn't make a mistake, then I was in good shape. So I was pretty happy with the result, obviously, but I knew he was there, and if you make one mistake, every time I saw him make a mistake, I would breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, and then I'd make my own mistake. I was like, damn it, he's right back there again, like 1 second back. So it was just really, really tight. And that last lap, I know he was just throwing it at it because we got in the bus stop and he was within 3 or 4 tenths, and then came out of the bus stop and he had lost quite a bit. So I knew I shouldn't just throw it away at that point.
Well, you definitely had some really good battles. We watched the majority of them between you and Lawrence, but you came away with the win over a huge field and a lot of fast drivers. Of course, we know you probably got some sponsors on the side of that car, on the hood, and of course, the people you need to thank for tinkering on it to make it fast.
Yeah, big thanks to Procure It Network. They've come on board and we're a title sponsor for our car the last 2 races, and been real happy to be able to give them wins, as well as Sawbelt America. They've been a partner for many years. I use their racing seats, their steering wheels, all the safety equipment, Nomex. If anyone ever needs anything Sawbelt related, just hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. I'd be happy to connect you. And then as well as SimCraft, I just ordered a SimCraft Apex Pro, Apex 2 Pro system, which is 2 motion, and I'm looking forward to getting it in the next month or so. I think it adds an extra element and realism and immersion to sim racing. And if I'm gonna be stuck at home racing instead of traveling all over the world racing, then I want it to feel as realistic as possible, and SimCraft built a beautiful product for that. So I'm excited to become a customer in a motion sim. So looking forward to that.
Again, congrats on the win and the 4th place overall. And that takes us to 5th place overall and your 2nd place in the Cadillacs. And I believe Nolan has caught up with him.
I have, standing by with Lawrence Loshak. Looks like the final driver who will come by to give us a little chit chat here tonight. Lawrence, it was a pretty good start for you. You ended up starting 4th in the Cadillac class, finishing 2nd place. And well, you were certainly not far off of that win either, just 7/10 finishing behind Mark Miller. And I'll tell you what, I was watching you. You got really, really close there a few times.
Yeah, I mean, it's Mark Miller, man. Is not an easy guy to beat, not in real life, and obviously not in a sim. That was an incredible pace by both of us. I mean, I was just looking at the lap times while, up until now, and it's just amazing how consistent we were. And I was sweating. I mean, my sweat was rolling into my eyes. I mean, that was really, really tough. Just like Mark said, I mean, he'd make a mistake, I'd catch up, then I'd make a mistake, he'd get away. You could see how our cars were set up differently. Last lap it was close. We were on the edge, we were beyond the edge, coming out of the climbing S's. Just went into the bus stop a little too deep. That's where I saw I was making up some time before. And, that was all she wrote. But hell of a race. Definitely one to remember. It was great. Had a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you had a good time, because I'll tell you what, we certainly had a good time too, watching you guys starting to duke it out across the track. And of course, we are now in that second half of the season, not a whole lot of time. You're currently sitting 4th place and just 12. You were 12 points off of Garrett Maines going into today. So I don't think your championship hopes are quite over just yet. You think that maybe even you could find yourself getting yourself into at least the top 3 by the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We have kind of 3 championships. I think you're looking at the overall championship. So obviously there's 3 awards to win, but my eyes are set on the TA2 championship. I believe we are in 2nd place, right behind Mark Miller. And, I needed a win today to make it more interesting. I mean, 3 in a row obviously does not make it easy to come back, but you asked everybody if they're excited about going to Road America. Well, I am. That's my home track. I love that track. I agree with Mark. Watkins Glen, there's really nothing like it. We had the climbing S's at VIR, but Watkins Glen climbing S's, man, it's just a whole nother ball game. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to some brats and beer and coming back to my home track at RA.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that you're going to be having a good time at your home track, and certainly we are going to be looking out for a good performance you from there. And well, I'll tell you what, I can't wait to watch the performance and hope that maybe you could come away with, if not another podium position in your Cadillac class, perhaps even a race win. And before we let you go as well, anybody else that you would like to thank that helps you to be fast in that number 8 machine?
Yeah, I mean, definitely want to thank ET Reman. We are the largest transmission remanufacturer for automotive cars and trucks in the aftermarket. Got to thank all my sponsors that I had in real racing: Pennzoil, Sonics. Everybody was along the way. Of course, racing last for Burton Racing. It was an incredible period in my life, and now I definitely fallen in love with iRacing, really having a great time. And also, I want to thank everybody who's participating in the series, in our group, our Racers Racing iRacing. It's just a group of guys that were just doing laps, and we came up with this idea that we should start a league and really have some amazing drivers in the series. Mark Miller is the defending TA2 champion in real life. RJ Lopez is in our group. He's a Trans Am champion. A lot of SCCA accomplished champions, circle track drivers. I mean, it's awesome, man. It's awesome to be able to do this during these times. We're all stuck at home. Really, really crazy world right now. And I guess we also got to thank, all the doctors and nurses and first responders, and man, crazy times. So, and of course, LSRTV, man. I'm really glad you were able to fit us on your schedule. Love how you guys do things in broadcast, so big thank you to you.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. And well, I'll tell you what, we cannot wait to see you guys all once again over at Road America, bringing us yet another great performance. And well, I think, well, first of all, thank you for joining us today, Lawrence. And I think, Charles, that is going to be just about everything here for round number 4. So before we start to close things off, any final thoughts from you on how today's race went? And of course, thoughts for going into Road America next week?
It was a blast of a race. I love this track. You know, I don't get to go to Road America very often, or let's say never hardly. So I'm definitely looking forward to that track. Watkins Glen, I'm used to seeing it with the cup cars, the trucks. I got to see it here with 2 different cars, 2 different classes. It did not disappoint. With some great racing throughout the field, from first, well, 2 first places all the way back to about 15th to 20th. We saw battling going on. Absolutely great race. Glad to be here covering it. And Nolan, I think you probably feel the same way.
Oh, absolutely, I do. It was an absolutely phenomenal race. Like I said at the top of our post-race show, there were thrills, there were spills, there was everything in between. It certainly made for a very, very exciting 20-minute race. And well, with that, another race of the RRI series is in the books here tonight, and it has been, well, like we just said, one heck of a show tonight. And we'd like to thank all of you for joining us here today on LSRTV at the virtual Watkins Glen International Raceway for tonight's presentation. I've been Ola Renpo bringing you coverage today with Charles Wooten behind the cameras and beside me in the commentating booth for tonight. We'll see you all in the next one.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.